the blob, it creeps and leaps and glides and slides across the floor, right through the door and all around the wall. A splotch, a blotch, be careful of the blob.
Welcome to episode 106 of Kaiju Curry House. My name is Connor, and we're joined by Joe and Paul, as per usual. And happy Halloween, folks!
Happy
Happy
Halloween!
Halloween.
Oh dear. Yeah. By the time this is recorded, it will technically be the Halloween special, I suppose.
It
if
drops
you
on
call it
Halloween.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, we'll just pretend that it was planned to be the Halloween special. But, anyways, Joe was missing last week, so I'll just say, Joe, what have Kaiju been up to?
I have been rearing my own mini kaiju. There is a wee young man in our house at the moment, and he has been waking up in the middle of the night. So I've been sorting that. But other than that, I've been reading a little bit, and I've been paying attention particularly to a show that's on the air right now, House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I haven't been watching it because I want to watch it all in one go. I'm that kind of person. I'd rather wait till all the episodes are out and then just kind of go through it at my leisure. But I have seen a few clips of the dragons from this Game of Thrones prequel, and I think they're pretty awesome. And I saw one advert where the frickin' Mahusiv dragon came through. It's supposed to be like one of the oldest, biggest ones that's just in the lore. And I was pretty astounded because I thought like Drogon and like the others from first Game of Thrones series are pretty big. And this fella or lady, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I haven't really delved that much into the lore. I haven't watched the show. Guy, gal, it's a big dragon. And he, she, it's very impressive. So I was happy with that. Special effects look great. So
Yeah.
I haven't been up to too terribly much. Yeah, just trying not to get too sleep deprived at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Fantastic start to the episode.
apologies, folks. Joe has to be boring every once in a while. I will turn it around though. Paul, what have Kaiju been up to?
Not a massive amount, I'm afraid, but I don't know, things I know what Connor's going to say he's been up to, so I can't steal from that because he shared it in the WhatsApp group. So I won't take from you. The only thing that I've done is I watched a film. It's called It Crawls Beneath, or What Crawls Beneath, depends on which poster you look at. It seems to have different names.
Sounds creepy.
Yeah, I mean, so
Ooh.
there's an earthquake, and that releases some large underground worms.
Of course.
There's something about large underground worms.
You're but to be fair, they're not that large. They're bigger than a worm, but they're
you
like
think
a snake size.
You think after Tremors they'd be careful when digging into the ground in case of like stuff like that happening, but no.
Yeah, I don't think this is a pre-Cambrian life form or anything like that. This seems to be just I don't know what it is. It's a big worm. It starts off quite small, then it grows. But the thing is, it's about this. Or the story revolves around a guy who
we're gonna get some flack for
what
those phrases you just rambled off right there.
Okay, I can't remember what I said now. Okay, the film centers around a guy who is trapped in his garage with his worms.
Right.
So it's very
I'm not
small
gonna
scale.
lie, Paul, you're not really selling.
It's hard to sell this film.
It sounds like a
This is what
hobby,
you did on Saturday night, right, Paul? This is what you gravitated towards.
This is how I party hard. But I used to love watching cheesy monster movies, and I saw it and I thought, oh, that looks quite good.
What is this podcast about?
Good monster film, not just the cheesy ones. Whereas I used to watch a lot of cheese. Now I watch the high quality stuff. But I saw this and I thought it would be really good. I should have looked at IMDb, which I think it's got 2 stars on, but I didn't look at that first. Yeah, I just saw it. I thought, oh, I'll give that a go. But the characters didn't really click. And seeing as that's the whole story is revolving around this guy in a room for 80% of the film, and then these worms, then it's
He sure it's
Yeah.
not something like a hobby. Like he just has like one of those glass jars with worms in it, and it's just
He
It's
well
like Dumb and
his
Dumber. We're gonna open a shop. What's it called? Worms.
well his I think he's with his uncle or stepdad or something. He's with someone in the garage and they get bitten, and it's like, oh, what they've been bitten by? Oh, it's this worm. We found this worm, and then it goes to a university because his ex
Worms
is a
don't have
friend.
teeth.
This one does. Imagine if you will, Joe, a graboid and his tentacle thing, and you know how they detach in some of the later films. It's just
Yeah.
that. So the detached tongue is roaming around your garage, and you're in there stuck because there's an earthquake. There's no power. Apparently, he can't text his ex-girlfriend who lives nearby, but he can phone his mum, who's like miles and miles away, to say to her, "Can you call my ex-girlfriend to get her to rescue me?" Like,
why not just call the girlfriend
Well, no,
Why not just call the fire department or something?
or the police?
Yeah, well,
or,
he-
you
the
know.
emergency
goes-
rescue
no,
services.
he tries
there's
to do.
whole
They're
there's
engaged.
infrastructure in place.
No one answers the phone at the
Oh, well,
police.
congratulations to them.
Oh, Joe, on it tonight. But no, he like hits his SOS button, and it's just like, oh, please, all circuits are busy. Please call back later.
You're saying that the worms are about as big as snakes, right?
Yeah, let's go for that.
Why doesn't people just try to stomp on them? You know,
Oh yeah, I should
I mean,
add
if they're as
that.
big as snake, I mean, what kind of snake here? Reticulated python or
corn
like-
snakes.
It's I don't know. I didn't take the measurements. It's as
Are we
long as your
talking-
arm.
are
It's
we
as long as you
talking-
think of your arm. Imagine your arm.
Okay.
Let's just go with that. It's the same length and thick.
I mean, like people kill and eat animals bigger than that, Paul.
Okay, he was trapped. He's like under a car. He's working on a car in the garage. Earthquake. It falls on his legs. He is pinned down under a car. What does he do? He can't stamp on it. He can't even move.
Well, doesn't he have a spanner or something? That's a wrench for a lot of you other folks. I mean, it's a worm.
It's a worm with that opens up like, and it's got
How
teeth.
fast is this thing?
And if it bites you, you only have like 2 hours to live because it's got this incredible venom that makes you hallucinate. So he also goes on a bit of a trip because he does get bitten. I'm not going to try and I'm not selling the film. I'm not going to bother talking about the film anymore. Hey, if you like worms, check.
What's the title of this film?
It Crawls Beneath.
I'll make a
does
note
it have
of that.
does it have legs? Because I think it would be slithering beneath.
Yeah, it has no legs. No legs
Okay.
whatsoever.
So it slithers beneath.
It slithers
wiggles
beneath, yeah.
A wiggly worm, a wiggly worm.
It wiggles beneath, and then
My
because of
wormy
the
don't
earthquake.
wiggle. It do. Sorry. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, check out that film. Check out the trailer,
Check out that film and then tweet Paul.
and then tweet Paul. Why?
Paul,
I thought the
tweet
trailer
Paul
was
your
pretty good.
film recommendations.
I haven't recommended it. I've just talked about it. I
Right.
thought it could be promising. I thought, okay, so it's obviously low budget and it's set in that one place. If they can pull it off, this could be really intense, really good. It wasn't, but I gave it a try.
There
that's
you go.
that's all I can
applaud
do.
you for trying.
Yeah, and because that's all I've been up to, I've just been waffling on to get my voice out there. So,
Connor, who has been up to stuff.
Connor, tell us, what have Kaiju been up to?
Well, Paul, for starters, I have a cold, so I'm going to sound fantastic once this recording is done.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you first connected, I was thinking, wow, that's a sexy voice you're going for there. And
Yeah,
The cold morning voice. Oh
so,
yeah.
hey, how you doing?
yeah, you want to see my Godzilla stuff. But anyways,
Oh, Connor.
oh, good joke. Yeah.
This is
Anyways,
terrifying.
so
More terrifying than the crawls beneath.
so I have been I haven't really been much up to stuff, I guess. I haven't been up to much stuff. Yeah, that was
Bit
a
of a
sentence.
lull for all of us this
It
week.
is, isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
pitiful, folks. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we're just not meeting our quotas. But yeah. So I have been listening to the audiobooks for the John Carter novels as of late.
Good man.
Yeah.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm halfway through the audiobook for Princess of Mars, which is the first one in the series. So yeah, I think it's listen, folks, when you're on the way to work, like sometimes, like just don't listen to this podcast. Just put on some Edgar Rice Burroughs. But I'm joking. But
Once you're up
This
to
is
date with the
Connor's last
podcast,
episode.
yeah,
yeah. So I've been listening to that. I will say the audiobook that I'm listening to is like it's got the blandest narrator you can think of. So it's like chapter one, that sort of stuff. It's just like they couldn't have picked a duller person to read the series. But
but
yeah.
you're still listening, so it's
Well, listen. There's nothing. There's not
It's
much else
to be
do.
fair, it's a really interesting, cool book.
Yeah,
So I mean,
just poorly delivered.
that's
fully
true.
delivered. Yeah.
Yeah. I've also recently ordered a book called Frozen Hell. Now, if any of those listeners know what this book is, so originally, and there was a novel release called Who Goes There, which has been adapted, 4 times already? The first being The Thing from Another World, The Horror Express, John Carpenter's The Thing, and The Thing remake. So this is basically the original book or novella it's based on. And a couple of years ago, they actually found out that the author that wrote it had actually written it as a novel and not a novella. So this is technically the story the author probably originally envisioned. So I shall be reading that when it arrives, once I'm done with The Land That Time Forgot. I sound so enthusiastic.
Got a lot of Burroughs going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a good writer. It's just like
He was a prolific writer. Like
Yes.
Tarzan, The Land That Time Forgot, John Carter. I mean, people don't really like talk about him enough, but John Carter inspired Superman and Star Wars.
yeah.
Tarzan is iconic in and of himself. And then The Land That Time Forgot.
Don't
That's
forget
just
don't
heck
forget
of a
the
good yarn.
don't forget the Pellucidar series as well, with like At the Earth's Core and all that.
Oh yeah. I mean, he wrote amazing adventure stories. And the great thing is, I mean, like such humble beginnings. He was a pencil salesman.
Yep.
So not a very good one either, was he?
He was a better writer. But
Yeah.
that just goes to show you folks,
Well, he needed the pencils.
best stories come from the humblest places.
He needed the pencils to write his books.
And I've still got the book you gave me, Joe.
Ooh.
That's been read.
That has been fully read, and I just remember on the back, the whole thing is Edgar Rice Burroughs failed in nearly every enterprise he tried. Great. So yes, he was a good writer, but it looks like he tried a lot of things before that and just did not get on very well.
It just goes to
I'm glad he found his calling.
It's never too late. Just keep trying.
Yeah.
Edgar Rice Burroughs is a very inspirational story.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. So there's that, and I have taken a keen interest in some recent news as well.
Oh, you saw that Legend of the Dinosaurs and Monster Birds has been released on Blu-ray, haven't you?
I was going to talk about the Godzilla Hot Wheels, but that's fine. But
Well, we're going back to Liz Truss, but obviously,
well, the thing is, we kind of
Poor
jinxed
Liz
it.
Truss. You know, by the time this episode releases, we're recording on the day she
I know,
announced, by the way.
I know.
Paul,
By the
do you realize that we might be partially responsible for
Did we
this?
cause that?
Because we said
She
damn
was
Liz Truss in
listening
the
to the
last episode.
podcast.
Yeah.
Well, she said she was going to. Well, I heard she was going to resign, and then she's like, "No, I'm staying here." And then it's I'm resigning. Make up your mind.
There's a real monster for your monster podcast. Oh, okay, maybe that's too political. But anyways,
Hot Wheels. Now
Hot
that's
Wheels,
cool.
yes, broom, 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 yes, yes. Yeah, so Connor here used to be a big fan of Hot Wheels toys as a kid. He's had like a a biscuit tin and everything that you placed all these little Hot Wheel cars in. Um, and basically, what Mattel recently revealed is they had gotten the Godzilla license, so they are producing Hot Wheels based off of Godzilla. And by the looks of things, it's the 1954 Godzilla that they're basing it off of, seeing it's on the package. But that might just be a total branding thing at this point. But I hope at least that I'm tempted to possibly get these, but at the same time, it's just like
Oh yeah, go on.
I'm a grown man buying Hot Wheels.
That doesn't matter. Because you sent the picture and I googled it to see what they were, and it said it's a Target exclusive. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's coming to the UK.
Well, it's like a lot of these exclusive things, like they have like steel books, for instance, that say it's Target exclusives, and you'll find them in HMV or something like that.
Right.
So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's like the Super 7 figures as well. It's like I wasn't expecting those figures to come over here.
Oh,
The figures
okay.
about that big.
Yes, yeah, because they're
But
all in Forbidden Planet at the moment, aren't they? All the Godzilla ones.
yeah, indeed, yes.
So yes, maybe we'll get Hot Wheels. And as you said, it's just they seem to be very similar, but the car bodies, and then it's just one's a monster truck with big wheels and one's just a normal truck with small wheels. But it's like it's got like the dorsal plate on the back, isn't it? Like it's a truck carrying some stuff, and then the car's almost like got a mouth. But I was hoping they'll do a bit more, like a few more variants. Like if we could have a Shin Godzilla one that's like glowing red.
Do
or
you
something.
guys remember Attack Pack?
No.
I thought you guys like Hot Wheels did this thing. They were like Transformers, but basically you pushed a button or pulled back on a lever that was like hidden on the car or the plane or whatever, and it turned into a monster.
So that rings a bell. Actually, I'm going to Google that while we talk. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I think I do
they
remember
were
something like
awesome,
that.
absolutely awesome. I'm gonna
One.
totally derail this train though and just drop. So Shin Godzilla Evangelion have
Yeah.
been mixed together yet again, and we
Oh
got
yeah, and the
some.
pachinko, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Yes,
pachinko and some amazing like fighting and
it
some
was
rowdy Godzilla
very
Evangelion action
cool.
going on there.
Yep.
The X Plus Godzilla Evangelion, the mashup of Godzilla and then Eva 01, that figure has become like an animated creature in this pachinko cutscene. And for those of you who do not know what pachinko is, head yourself over to YouTube. There's a bunch of great tutorials and explanations of what this is. It's a part of Japanese culture, but yeah, amazing animation. Ghidorah's in it. Um,
They do this all the time for pachinko machines because you'll see this like leaked trailer. You think, oh my god, they're making this film. It's like, oh no, it's a pachinko little animated video for the machines. Like,
yeah,
oh
people get
I
man,
really.
I am glad that Toho has the priority straight with in terms of like Godzilla and the Reiwa era. It seems, rather than making more films, it's like let's do theme park rides and
Well,
pachinko
this
machines.
was announced years ago, so
Hmm.
Toho was kind
well
of
yeah, they
like
have, haven't they?
they said that they were going to open the floodgates for Godzilla because they'd been controlling the brand so much. And to be fair, it's such a cash cow for them that it would be ridiculous not to just go for so much.
Hmm.
So now like there's apparel, Hot Wheels, theme park rides, what have you, and they're making bank off of Godzilla. Like they're getting the name out. You have to re-energize the fandom because
Well, yeah, that's it. They don't
you
need the
had an
film at the
aging
moment.
demographic of kaiju fans, and it was a niche fandom, and they struck while the iron's hot. So power to them on that marketing.
Yeah. I'm just wondering because recently Bandai announced they are releasing Ava Unit 1 and Ava Unit 2 as movie monster series figures. So I just wonder if we'll get that horrifying Ava Unit Godzilla sort of like mix as a figure.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe.
Here you go, Jimmy. Yes.
It's kind of interesting though. So I have some of those little Bandai figures and like the final ones, and they're originally out for like kids to play with, and I let my kids like play with them, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evangelion, like you wouldn't let like a 7, 8 year old like see that show.
No, they wouldn't
So
understand it.
they wouldn't understand it. So basically, it's just like robot, monster.
Well, let me take you back like a while back, because I don't know if any of you remember this, but they did Alien versus Predator toys aimed towards kids.
I remember
yeah.
Alien toys, but it was like
Kenner
you're not allowed to see
great
the
for that
film,
stuff.
but you can play with the toys of the monster.
They did RoboCop as well. Now that I think of it, just all these violent 80s movies.
Congo, a whole mess of them. Kenner just totally like went for it. But the thing is like, again, they made bank. Kenner was a fantastic toy manufacturer. The original Jurassic Park figures that they made still hold up today as some of the best toys made, at least in my humble opinion. But like, there are Kenner collectors out there.
And Joe, Attack Pack, yeah, I remember that really well now. I completely forgot about that. Well, it was Hot Wheels, but I've Googled it. I've seen the pictures. I remember that toy.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
My favorite Hot Wheels set as a kid was this one called Spider Attack. Right, I think that was the name of it. I can't remember, but it annoyed my parents so much because it made so much noise. Just the cars just going around it, and it was basically this big rubber track that was like, I don't know, like in the shape of like an orb or something, and there's like a big spider on top of it, and the idea is that the cars go round, and eventually it triggers something which makes the spider jump off. So, it's one of those cheap gimmicks. Like in hindsight, it's a pretty crap toy, but at the same time,
as a child, it's
that's
amazing.
A perfect segue. So, speaking of cheap gimmicks that were crap but memorable, let's talk about the Blob.
Oh yes,
if we must.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, come on. Everybody's favorite jelly monster or jam monster if you're in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
So
what jam? Why is it a jam monster? Apart from the fact that it looks like I have got
a giant hunk of jam.
Yeah. It could be described as
it's strawberry jam, Paul. That's what the Blob actually is. Really angry strawberry jam.
Honestly, I've never even thought about comparing the Blob to jam ever. And I'm just like, yeah, I can see it now.
But apparently it was inspired by Star Jelly, not jam.
Well, yeah.
So just to throw out a useless fact there for you.
Okay, well there we go. So the Blob. Anybody want to take it with this? Anybody want to do the quick synopsis? Spoiler it for everybody.
Spoiler alert for the 1958 The Blob.
Hey, there's some people out there I guarantee haven't seen this film.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it is one of those like cult movies that kind of defines like 1950s monster movies, I guess, or 1950s drive-in movies.
The thing is, though, is the Blob is cutting edge in its originality. It's such a simple premise, but at the same time, it's so simple but very elegant. So, quick synopsis here. A little meteorite falls. It has like this organism on it. Dumb Hoboken touches it, book, and it gets on his hand. What the Blob is, what we think it is like a microorganism or something like that, like an alien bacterium or whatnot, and it eats living tissue. So the more tissue it eats, the bigger it gets. It doesn't really have organs per se. If you shoot it, it does nothing.
Nope.
Like flamethrowers, okay, like whatever. But if you freeze it, that's something. Now, the horrific thing about the Blob is that it like dissolves you while you're alive. So potential to be quite horrific here. But the problem is that meteorite landed next to like small town USA. They don't necessarily.
It always does.
Yeah.
To be fair, there are a lot of small towns in the USA. I've lived in a few of them. Anyway, they don't have like a huge military. There isn't a huge reaction. And the Blob just goes around absorbing people until like the point where it's like the size of a school bus and the whole town's just like, what the heck is going on? So,
but yeah, we should say that throughout the film, a teenager is the one that kind of knows what's going on because he's driven.
Teenager.
Quotations in the air. Teenager.
That's
Steve
what he's.
McQueen, who is probably in his mid to late 30s.
That's got to be a record, isn't it, for the oldest person to play a teenager.
I mean, like he has some pretty robust facial hair going
He
on.
does
you
not
know?
look anything
he's
like a teenager. It's great.
You need to watch
No.
the Criterion release where it's like a 4K scan and you can see all the wrinkles on Steve McQueen's face.
Yeah,
Oh,
I wouldn't
Lordy.
believe he was a teenager. It was very strange that
Yeah,
he
it
was going
was.
to make out with this girl in his car, and his dad comes and gets him from the police station. So what's going on?
Anyways,
Anyways,
so the Blob, we don't necessarily have like a sentient thinking animal. It's not really discouraged by a lot of things. Like it doesn't have like that thought process. You can't really like hurt it slash kill it, you know, and it just keeps
No.
getting bigger. So it's a really hard problem to solve. And eventually what they determine is just freezing it,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, that's it.
So the iconic ending of this film is just them dropping it in like Antarctica or like Lapland or whatever, where there's just ice everywhere, and it just says the end and then a big question mark. Now, it'd be really funny if someone did like a sequel nowadays to the
I know
original
what you're going
one
to say.
because of global
Yeah,
warming.
yeah.
Yep.
It could happen.
I mean, like, but there it is.
Hey,
You
with
know?
those people gluing their hands to roads, you know, it could be like the instead of that's like, but where the blob?
It's
or
like
something.
it's like in Carnosaur where people like chain themselves to like the earth moving equipment, and then like the dinosaurs come and eat them. These people gluing their hands to roads, the blob just kind of like rolls over them.
God. Oh, that sounds quite evil, actually.
Yeah,
We are not
Not
belittling
amusing.
the causes of protesters, by the way, but there are
Yeah,
certainly
methods
better
of
ways to get
protest.
your point across than gluing your hand to a road. There's cream. They just put it on your hand and they come right back up again. Like you have created 10 minutes of inconvenience.
Yeah.
Find a different way.
Okay,
Also,
political
please stop.
tonight.
Please stop throwing tin soup at paintings.
Yeah.
That's my rant. There we go. Someone worked hard on that. Gosh darn it.
Yeah. And a waste of food as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
the blob.
Anyway,
so
the blob. The blob.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the end again, where you just say they drop it off? Because we see it 1 minute, it's this huge thing that's like engulfing a diner, is it, or something?
Yeah, it's like basically like the heroes, the protagonists are in the diner, then they go to like the basement of the diner.
That's
and
it.
like
Yeah,
the blob is just like
it's all over it.
oozing over the entire structure and coming in like the basement, like ground level windows.
So their plan is fire extinguishers are cold. We'll go get some from our small town. We'll get enough to freeze a giant blob. And then the next scene is being dropped off. So I take it the army just turned up with lots of freeze stuff and then
Why
got it
not?
on a
Why
plane.
not?
Yeah.
They just put
This
they
is
put in a big
equally
fridge.
plausible to the giant jam monster. So
Yeah. I mean, it's just normally in these films they ring up, don't they? Like, oh, there's an alien, there's a giant creature. They're like, nah, we don't believe you. But in this case, they actually did come pretty very quickly and save the day.
You know, you say that, but name one movie where they don't believe him.
It's a conspiracy. In fact, it's kind of like
Monster Squad, like kids rang him up. They showed up. You know, like Monsters versus Aliens, military was right there. You know, like I have yet to see a film where the
maybe I've
local
just got it in my
authorities are
head.
rung up.
In fact,
And,
if you
like-
watch the 80s remake, they're in on it. So the
Accept-
army is technically in on it. But
I remember watching The Blob, and I now know I originally watched the 80s and then more recently watched this 50s. And I just remember talking to Colin before we started recording that it was like the 50s version was like, yeah, that's the basic story, but it's almost like a PG version compared to the 80s, which went much more like The Thing with graphic melting and things.
The 80s version, it's just like it churns your stomach.
Yeah, I want to watch the 80s one again.
In the 50s version, like they kind of pan away. Before we started recording, Connor, did his due diligence and did some research on the film. There was a scene where a doctor gets absorbed. Apparently there was a longer cut, right, Connor?
yeah, apparently they had to cut it down, so they kind of like just inserted that scene of Steve McQueen just making faces.
Yeah, Steve McQueen's grimacing because he's seeing what you don't. It's kind of like in the new Muppet movie, well, one of the new Muppet movies with Jason Segel, and it's just like, wow, that explosion looked really expensive. Yeah, we put a lot of our budget into it, but you're basically watching their reactions to the explosion, which is like a gag that they're not actually showing you. It's like the really expensive pyrotechnics because they aren't there.
But
But
I suppose you
this,
think about it, like less can be more at times. Like you're
It
just
can be,
imagining in your
yeah.
head, like what's happening. It's like even when, well, it's not that there is some grim scenes in this version of the Blob as well. Keep in mind, like the '50s version of the Blob, like when they bring the old man into the hospital, and you just see like every time they cut to him, his arm is more and more dissolved, and it's like the Blob is taking the shape of his hand. It's like, oh God, it's like like even for them, that's pretty graphic, despite not being uber graphic like the '80s remake, I suppose. But
yeah, the '80s remake. So when the boyfriend gets absorbed in the hospital because they've brought in this old man, the blob has reached just enough size that it can, like, you watch him dissolve like completely, and like she's holding his hand and trying to pull his hand, pull him out of it, and like his hand comes away because it's like dissolved off of his body, and like he's flailing around inside of it as it's dissolving him. He's totally oh,
mm,
Yeah, we just
yucky.
see this thing roll around in this film.
Yeah, it rolls around like
It's
a
like there's
big
a
thing of
scream, the
Play-Doh.
light breaks, and then there's this thing rolling around. It's like, okay, I guess it ate her.
Less
yeah.
is more, but like
I mean, I like it when it builds suspense to things. I mean, it's not, nowhere bad, is it? It's just, I think compared to the '80s version, I prefer to see it.
Mm,
That's all.
that's fair enough. Yeah. But at least at
easier
least the
watching. It's not as intense.
at least the little dog survived. You know, at least we
The
can.
dog does survive in this film.
As they always should do.
What year did this come out? 1958. Yeah, the dog's dead. But
Of course, the dog has passed away since then, Connor. Don't be such a buzzkill. Jeez. Yeah. So, any other great memorable points in this film? I'm trying to think of them. I mean, like other than like the jam monster, like and like the premise and then the ending, which is iconic. We've covered Steve McQueen.
But so
Is
yeah,
there much?
Steve McQueen driving backwards, trying to be really hip.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to give Steve McQueen like a motorized vehicle.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. Yeah,
Mm,
it's just why like he's like racing these other kids. And then the police just comes up to him. What are you up to?
yeah.
I
It's
think
just yeah. This is like the police force are so nice in
they are
this
so
movie.
nice, aren't they? They
Yeah.
don't. It's like, yeah, you were driving, you were
Small
speeding,
town
going backwards.
cops are nice.
Well, there's that one. The one cop is like really grumpy, isn't he? He's like,
Yeah.
they should know better.
Well, it's called good cop, bad cop for a reason.
Well, there seems to be one bad cop, and the rest of well, actually, I think there wasn't there three of them. That is the police department.
Yeah, the one moody cop keeps bringing up that he fought in the war and all that, but it's like it's never really brought up except from him complaining about it, Um, but yeah, and it's like there's that one scene where like we see the cops are playing chess with like another police station.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it's just like there's a really tense moment in it where they're taking Steve McQueen and his girlfriend home, right? And he's the only cop left in the building. And there's just such this tense music. And he's radioing on the radio to the other station. Like, well, what's he going to do? Oh, he's just going to play another game of chess. So we got all this
Tension
like
built up.
tension
Yeah.
build up, and it's just like, oh, checkmate. Oh well, but oh dear. But
Well, that's classic misdirection. I mean, like that was like the audience had a laugh with that. It's like when someone does a jump scare and it turns out to be like someone's annoying little brother or sister, like boom, like a horror film. Just like, oh, dang, director got me again.
yeah.
I like scenes like that. Those are fun.
Mm.
So what would we rate this movie? Do you think that, I mean, like it does kind of have like a classic status, I feel, the Blob. Like if you mention the Blob, people more or less have an idea of what it is. So does it deserve the classic status?
I'd say so, at least. It's definitely iconic enough that everyone remembers it. Like it's I mean, if you think of all the films that somehow include the Blob in the background or even the poster to the Blob, like I say it's pretty memorable for what it is. Like even just the idea. I think it's the epitome of like 50s B movies. I think like like I would say so at least. Uh,
He's in
like
Hotel Transylvania. I mean, like,
no, that's true. Yeah.
made it that
What
far.
more
He's
do you
been in other
need?
films. Pardon?
What more do you need? He was in Hotel Transylvania. That's it. Yeah.
It's Blobby.
Plus,
Did it inspire Mr. Blobby?
well, oh dear, not this
No, we won't go there again.
um, well, I was talking to Paul after the last episode finished, right? And I mentioned him about Blobfest, right?
Believe it, Blob, a whole festival around this film.
Yeah, that's how
I've heard about this.
Yes, so it's not in Halloween, I checked, but it's sometime during the summer, right? They tend to host a festival dedicated to the Blob in the hometown, or not the hometown, the town that the film was actually filmed in, right? Um, so like they have like various things. They like have Steve McQueen lookalike contests. They bring actual props in the movie, like the cars that still exist, apparently, like the actual like fire engines. They have like rock bands playing like horror themed rock and roll music and all that. Just basically a fun time. And one of the coolest things that they do at the end is they reenact the cinema scene where they're running out of the cinema in the same cinema that they filmed the Blob in. So that's pretty neat. I think it's like you don't see G-Fest doing stuff like that. It's like hey, let's recreate a scene from like a Godzilla film. No, we're just going to recreate the scene from the Blob. And not only that, but most of the original props, like miniature props from the film, still exist, and they
Now
usually
that's
are.
interesting. Why is that, do you think?
I think they just kept them. That's it. They just kept them in good condition, like a locker somewhere, I'd imagine. But the one prop that still exists today and will outlive us all is the Blob itself, right? The
It's
original,
plastic, isn't it?
it's silicon. It's like a silicon substance that they made to use the Blob, and they usually have it on display every Blobfest, and it's just in a bucket. It's just this pink goo in a bucket. So it's just like it's interesting that this really cheap film, the actual prop of the Blob has outlived all the Godzilla Showa costumes. If you think about it, like this cheap, just cheap looking monster compared to some of the Godzilla suits.
Well, there is a level of complexity that went into the Godzilla suits that the Blob did not need.
Yeah.
And the Godzilla suits, because they had to go over an actor, like the latex, like that stuff, it disintegrates, it deteriorates over time, obviously.
Yeah. Silicon doesn't disintegrate. That's the thing.
Yeah. So I mean, like, okay, the Blob has lived longer, but I don't know. But the thing, yeah, I kind of wonder, like, I wonder if I mentioned the Blob to my 9-year-old. Like, she knows Godzilla because, like,
because she lives,
because dad.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever mentioned the Blob around her. So I'm wondering, like, if I mentioned the Blob, if she knew if she would know who I was talking about, because like she's seen Hotel Transylvania, but like the Blob's the Blob. I knew about the Blob before I watched the movie. Like,
Yeah.
did you guys encounter that? Did you guys know about the Blob?
It was
before,
definitely referenced
Yeah.
in The Simpsons.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, but like I didn't even
Which-
watch The Simpsons really, so it's like I knew who they were because
I
I
would
grew up in '90s America. I knew The Simpsons, but like I didn't need to watch it.
I
It's
would
just that-
I would
sorry.
say my first time I found out about the Blob was Grease, the film Grease, right? Because there's a scene in it for they go to a drive-in movie theater, and that's the film playing in the background. So
Nice.
yeah, so episode 107 is going to be about Grease. So
Okay.
John Travolta.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it is kind of a monster film, I suppose. It's very horrible, but
No, not Grease.
Oh man. Anyways, we got a bit sidetracked there. um,
Totally not thinking about John Travolta's hair right now.
he uses grease, and I say, oh, no.
Look at you trying to get in on the puns.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think we're in general consensus that the Blob deserves its classic status, and like it is rewatchable to a degree, isn't it? Like it is just easy watching. I think about like films that I can just consistently watch over again, and like if they're on, like I'm happy to just leave it on, like Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terror of Mechagodzilla. Like I could leave the Blob on and just like be entertained, like coming in and out of the room because it's just easy watching. Like the level of like in terms of like sheer horror, it isn't there. Like there's moments of suspense. Like you understand that the main protagonists are going to get away. It's kind of like a Spielberg movie in that sense.
Yeah.
And the level of threat, the level of terror just is not as elevated as other films. So you can just kind of leave it there. And I think actually you could let like your average 8, 9, 10-year-old probably watch
Yeah.
the Blob
Yeah,
and
it's not
they'd be perfectly
horrific.
fine. So in terms of like it even being like a family horror film, if such a thing, category really exists,
I would say it is a family horror film if you think about it. Yeah, I do think so. Yeah.
like I'd say that like the creature from the Black Lagoon could be the Blob you could probably call like a family horror film, like Hocus Pocus,
Yeah.
typical. I saw the sequel, love the sequel. But
I mean,
I feel
so we've got 1958, then we had one in the 70s as well, didn't we? And one in the 80s. So, and it had sequels. So they definitely, it's been very popular throughout time, and people might be more attached to different versions than the others. I'm surprised we haven't had a more recent one. Weren't they going to make one?
I haven't heard about that.
I thought they were going to remake the Blob. I'm surprised they haven't.
Well, I'm surprised they haven't too, to be perfectly honest. It would make, honestly, you can see HBO doing a mini series like about the Blob.
No,
It
Yes.
slowly goes. It's
Yeah.
basically in like an underground bunker, and it escapes from like whatever Stranger Things bunker type situation, and it goes into this small town. And then the military that knew about it all along is there just in time to like trap it before it becomes too big.
Mhm.
And then they take it to like another secure location. The end? Question mark.
As long as it's not as terrible as the Mist TV show that they did recently, because the Mist is a great film, and then they recently
It is a
adapted-
traumatizing film. I will never get over the end of that film. That was terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible. Spoilers for all you parents out there, but I feel like I need to warn you. Like they run out of hope. They've got like a pistol with like 5 bullets in it. The car has 6 people, and the dad shoots his kid because he doesn't want the kid to live through like this post-apocalyptic, like worse than living death type scenario. And then after he shoots the kid, after he has his mental breakdown because there's no more bullets, like 3 minutes later, the army starts coming by rescuing people and all this crap. Oh my gosh. Like, why did they have to do that? Like, find some other way to rip our guts out, right?
play that Curb Your Enthusiasm music at the end. It's just
it's just it just ruined that film for me. Absolutely ruined it. Like if they'd all died and then like the trucks came by, it would have still been like a great twist ending, blah blah blah. But no, the kid had to die.
Mhm.
Oh, horrific.
It's
Yeah,
horrific. I think that's the point of how grim it is.
Yeah,
Yet another reason why the 80s Blob is so grim. It spares nobody.
yeah. Oh dear.
But yeah, they've been trying to make a sequel, it seems, for like a decade now, and just it's not getting anywhere. They've had so many directors and people attached to it. It's a bit of a legal mess, it seems.
Read off some of the directors, Paul, now that I know that you have a list in front of you.
Would I had a look at the guy who did The Mist. Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie
Oh,
obviously
no.
did the Halloween remake, which I thought was fantastic. not so much the
He
sequel.
recently redid the Munsters, and I heard
Oh, he
that
did, didn't he? Yeah, that's going to be quite
there
good.
was mixed reviews on that.
I've seen clips of the monsters, and it doesn't look good at all. I don't think it
The
looks
Munsters
terrible.
is hilarious. I love the Munsters.
Oh, I love the
black and
original.
white.
Yeah, I love the original show with Fred Gwynn, but the new remake just doesn't look good at all. It's like oh dear. It looks like it was done really cheap, and it's just basically a tax write-off for Universal. But
Newsflash, Connor, the original series was done on the cheap. I don't know
well,
what to tell
It
you.
looks like they're trying to imitate that, doesn't it? By going,
Yeah.
he's going for
yeah,
that
but
cheap look.
that's 1960s budget compared to
Oh, yeah.
1960s TV budget.
Oh dear. But,
Speaking of budget, I had to look for the Blob, the 1958 Blob, and the budget was $120,000, and
yeah.
it cost them $110,000. They actually came in $10,000 under budget. So well
Had
done
a
them.
heck of a cast party at the end.
Yeah. Steve McQueen, who was 28 at the time of playing this teenager.
Oh,
This was his first film. By the
I
way.
apologize to Steve McQueen's ghost for saying he was older.
He got paid $3,000 for this role.
Mm.
He was going to have a bit less and get 10% of the profits, but he said apparently just for food and rent, he needed a bigger upfront fee. So, hard times for Steve McQueen. This must be very, very early on in his career.
A bit of a morbid fact about Steve McQueen. So he went on to say later on in interviews that he hated the Blob. Right?
Did he?
Right. But when he died, when they found him, the only film poster that was in his house was the Blob, of all things. So there's another morbid Blob fact for you.
Oh. I mean, he must be kicking himself because apparently it made $4 million.
I don't know.
Million.
I don't know. He was in The Great Escape, so I
suppose, yeah.
I think with The Great Escape, he totally
Did he
nailed
get a
that
lot of money
one.
for that one?
If he didn't get all the money, he got the roles from it. My goodness.
Yeah.
The original Great Escape, folks, with Steve McQueen is a cracking film. You should check it out. No monsters or kaiju in it. Well, has some monsters in it. They wear swastikas on their uniforms. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. But
but I mean, back in that day, that he took 3,000. He could have had 400,000. That's a oof. He's gonna feel that.
Yep.
that's probably why he hated it.
Yeah, that's it. It's like God.
He resents his decision. Goodness me.
Oh, but now I want to watch the sequel.
Yeah.
The sequel. Tell me about the sequel.
Well, the sequel takes place after the original, where they come across it in the Arctic.
So it is an actual direct sequel.
It's a direct sequel. People are doing whatever in the Antarctic, and they unearth it and bring it back to study in LA.
Amazing.
And amazingly, it's still alive, and it comes back and eats people. Hey ho.
There you go. Yeah, you live and learn. It's just.
I wonder if they consider dropping it in a volcano. Like maybe that would work better,
Do you know what one of the working titles of the Blob was?
The Glob.
No. That was the second title.
The
Strawberry Jam Attacks.
The Strawberry Jam Attacks. It was called the Molten Meteor. So you're close about the lava stuff. So yeah. Just some like one of those just bits of trivia that just doesn't really add to anything.
But we like pointless trivia on here.
Yeah.
The molten meteor, like the meteor was neither molten nor is it actually a film about a meteor.
No. Actually, can we just appreciate how the actual Blob like thing it comes in has craters in it? I don't know. It's just like one of those like cheesy little details. Like, where did the craters come from for such a small? Well, I suppose it's a rock that's coming in the atmosphere and burns up. So I don't know.
Someone had fun making that meteorite.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then some old guy comes and pokes it with a stick.
Well, so you see something fall out of the sky, you poke it with a stick.
Yeah. You could already see all the cracks on the meter right in the 4K version as well. So it's like, yeah, this thing was just designed just to fall to bits, and you can tell. But yeah. Anyways,
And the director, wasn't he a director of Christian films?
he was, yes, and
And it was like the most
It kind of
successful.
makes the '80s ones like have a little bit more sense to it the way it ends, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is as well is that he actually held up production from filming the Blob because they took breaks on Sundays. This is an actual fact.
Because it was a minster, wasn't it? An actual church
Mhm.
minster that was the director of the film. So yeah,
I think so. But yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's just like I suppose just so anyone can make a film, really. But yeah.
yeah. Well, I think he was he did lots of religious films.
Mhm.
I'm sure the company that made the Blob, I think they did something like over 200, Christian films, and then suddenly they just decided to do the Blob because someone convinced them to, and then it was a massive hit. Probably funded, however many other movies they wanted to do. Yeah, a whole bunch of films after that.
Mhm. Yeah.
We'll make one film for the heretics, and we'll use it to fund all of the good message.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my lord!
Yeah, that's how we look at it. That's great.
We'll look at the
Anyways,
filmography.
personally, I just like the 50s Blob better. Like maybe I'm just in the minority here, but I just feel like a concept like the Blob fits like just a cheesy, fun monster movie better than just the grim, dark style that they went with. But that's just me, I guess.
If the opposite ends of the spectrum, really.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Depends
Yeah.
on what kind of mood you're in, what blob you're going after. I want to see the sequel now. The Blob Takes LA.
The
That's
Blob
awesome.
takes you.
Yeah. Beverly Hills Blob.
Beverly Hills Blob, yeah.
Beverly Hills Blob.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
I think we need to cover it, if nothing else now.
Yeah.
I think we've reached that point.
Yes. Oh man.
So, if nothing else, Connor.
If nothing else, pick up the Criterion Collection version of the Blob. It has a lot of special features on it, as most Criterion releases do, and it's a nice transfer. I also recommend Dinosaurus by the same director of the Blob, which is another cheesy monster movie with rubber puppet dinosaurs that they defeat with construction equipment. So, yeah.
That sounds like Carnosaur.
Well, Carnosaur might be a remake. You never know.
Spiritual successor.
I doubt it.
Well, does Carnosaur have a Neanderthal that befriends a child and then gets killed brutally? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, the Neanderthal.
Okay.
I mean, the kid lives, but
You're making me want to watch Encino Man now. But
yeah.
There we go. Paul, if nothing else.
Well, seeing as it's dropping on Halloween, I guess watch a scary movie, if nothing else. No, I want to hear what our listeners' favorite Halloween monster movie is. So get in touch, let us know, because we've gone for the Blob for Halloween, but
The correct answer is John Carpenter's The Thing.
I'm sure that's it. We don't have that. I can't think of the top of my head that many scary monster films.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to hear some, and also this is going to be we've got this Halloween, and then 3rd of November, Godzilla's birthday. So don't forget we're going to have Godzilla versus Gigan Rex, and who knows what else they'll be doing. So enjoy Godzilla goodness. So yes, if nothing else, watch a Halloween monster movie and check out Godzilla's birthday festivities. Joe, if nothing else.
Folks, I'm going to do you a solid recommend. Get yourself a copy of The Blob in time for Halloween. Make yourself a nice big jam sandwich and eat it.
But don't get any on you.
You God forbid you get any on you, but have a nice big old jammy sandwich as you go there. Pal Joe's recommending it.
Just Don't even bother with the sandwich. Don't even bother with the bread. Just get a thing of jam and just get a
Just
spoon.
plain jam. What kind of monster?
No.
Okay, for those of you who are just listening here, you need to go on YouTube and watch this here. So Connor is doing the motions for how to eat jam. And I want everybody to look at like when he did it, because he didn't make a motion for a spoon going into like glass jar jam. He just like full on Pooh Beared that and took his hand
Yeah.
and made the motion to go in there.
It's like
So
reenacting the film. He's like,
I mean, like, I just want you all. I mean, I think everybody needs to know that when Connor eats jam on its own, he just eats it with his hands.
Oh god.
Oh, that's great. You're going to have a fun time listening to this one, folks.
Oh.
Anyways, thank you for enjoying our episode of The Blob. Happy Halloween. Tweet us your costumes. Tweet us your favorite scary monster movies, and we will totally check them out. And as always, folks, keep it kaiju.
I think it's time for our first break. I think,
first break. We
or only break.
I think it's our only break because we've been going. To be fair, we've been going for 50 minutes now, so we could wrap up if you want. We go straight onto nothing else.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we can talk about various comments from like our listeners. I suppose.
Are we going to edit out this bit?
We will edit this. Yeah. We'll
the break, because I was just thinking that's not an offense, Connor. That was a little bit awkward. You seem a little like Connor really wants to talk 2 hours about the Blob. This is our post-credit scene now.
Oh dear, we've
we get it, Connor. You like the Blob.
Let's take our first break. Connor, how much do you want to talk about this film?
We have buggered this up big time.
We always do.